Let's have a chat about Sheena, and this time it will be all about Sheena. It's all happening and it's all about Sheena. Let's take a look at her behavior throughout the season, her performance at the reunion, and so much more. Guys, if you guys enjoy opinions and commentary and conversations on Vanderpump Rules, Housewives, and some pop culture tea, I got you. So subscribe, turn on notifications, do all that good YouTube stuff, and let's get into it. All right. Our girl Sheena. We will get to her crying and all that stuff. But before we get to how she behaved with Ariana throughout the season, let's kind of just nitpick at, Sheena's backstory, all that good stuff. Fortunately or unfortunately, this was obviously one of the most iconic scenes Sheena had this season. And your girl Sheena, one thing she's gonna do, she's gonna hustle and make some money, honey. So what did she do? She's making merch off of being Sheena. Here is her new merch. How can I make this about me? Girl, let's have an honest conversation. It's always been about you. It's always been about Sheena. We gotta give props to Sheena. If it wasn't for Sheena getting it on with Eddie Cibrian back in the day, we would never have this show. We would never have that iconic crossover between Beverly Hills and VPR when Brandy went from Brandy walked into Lisa's restaurant and then she sat down to speak to Sheena. And that was TV history and TV magic. And we can thank Sheena for that. Now, guys, we gotta take the long route around before we get to her and Ariana this season and the reunion. The fact that Sheena still says we need to give her a couple more seasons. I forget if she said it on her podcast or where she said it, but I recall vividly it was in like the last few weeks, she said it somewhere where we need to give her a couple more years. You've been on the show for a decade. I think at this point, the audience knows who you are. Sheena's always been about Sheena, and she's always wanted to. I don't know. We call her a pick me for a reason, and it's unfortunate. But even at the reunion, Sheena, when asked about Dancing with the Stars, I think it was part two of the Vanderpump Rules reunion. She said something to the extent how she's busy with her band. I don't know if she has tour dates. My understanding was it's like a local band. I didn't think people really knew them at like a national level. I don't know. She just made it seem like she's so busy with her podcast, this and that. At this point, I don't think Dancing with the Stars will ever pick her because if they do pick her, it's kind of like when that couple finally gets engaged and it's because the girl badgered the guy for all these years and then the guy gives her a shut up ring. So at this point, if Dancing with the Stars selects Sheena, it would be kind of like the equivalent of a shut up ring, which is quite unfortunate, but that's what it would be. This scene was, I feel like, one of the more honest versions of Sandoval that we saw this season because we all know he's a narcissist. He is a textbook narcissist. Yes, that word is used quite a bit. However, in his case, if you just notice his mannerisms and the way his face changes from scene to scene, it's a little scary. Like when they showed the scene of him saying, "It looks good for me," the last 10 minutes of the season. And then he basically had like a little smirk. I don't know. It was like really creepy. But, anyways, this is not really about Sandoval, but it is about Sandoval. Well, it's really about Sheena. He gave his authentic self to Sheena. And Sheena and Brock, yeah, Brock's going down too. Because, Brock and Sheena, they're like joint at the hip. The fact that this man called her, basically a mistress, the other woman, to her face, and this is what he thinks about her, whether Sandoval said that in the heat of the moment or he truly thinks that way, he still said that. Words matter, words hurt. And even after he said that to her, she is still choosing to try to be friends with him. And guys, post reunion, post the filming of the show, Sandoval and Sheena don't seem to be on talking terms, and this man was basically playing her the entire season, her and Brock. Also, the fact that he gave her, what was it, like $10,000 during the pandemic when I guess they didn't really have the show, they had nothing. I probably said this in like some of my other recaps or some of my other videos. How some of these reality stars are on TV for this long and they don't have a rainy day fund or any savings is quite odd to me. And now all of a sudden she's on her third house. The math ain't mathing. I mean, how much merch are people buying? It's just quite odd to me. Anyways, back to Sheena not choosing Ariana. I would think you would choose Ariana because I get it, you're friends with Sandoval, and I get it, Brock also likes another man paying the bills, but this man fully told you what he thinks of you. And you still want to try to give him the benefit of the doubt. You still want to try to be amicable with him. It was just very odd to me. I know in some scenes, Sheena this season was being a little annoying and trying to make it about her, but it kind of is about her to a certain extent. She was definitely affected by the whole Scandoval situation. The night the night Ariana found his phone with the adult video of Raquel, not Ariana, Sheena was with Raquel, and I covered this a little bit in my recap of Reunion Part 3. So if you guys want to see the entire Reunion Part 3 recap, it's on this channel. But Sheena does have a right to feel bothered and affected by the situation. Of course, she wasn't the victim in terms of betrayal and being cheated on. However, she was very much a part of the friend group. She also let Raquel stay at her place. Raquel only paid her like $1,000, which, let's be real, if you live in a big city, no one's rent or mortgage or whatever is $1,000 if you paid for that property in recent years. And then Raquel was being nasty and not even like restocking the toilet paper. And Sheena, I guess, they really took in this girl after her and James Kennedy broke up. And obviously, she broke up the engagement with James Kennedy from what it seemed like. And I'm not even gonna get into Sandoval paying partially for the ring and whatever, the engagement. No, we're well past that. But this is about Sheena, so guys, let's get back to Sheena. I totally understand why she feels wronged in this whole mess, and I understand why she's, crying and all that. Now, back to Sheena and Ariana. It seemed like there were conversations people were having behind Ariana's back throughout the season, and maybe they weren't so honest and forthcoming with her throughout the season. Maybe they were worried about her mental health, and maybe they couldn't get a hold of her because one week she was doing a, I don't know, big commercial, the other week she was doing a trash bag commercial, the next week she was, flying off to do a hosting gig. She was doing so much and obviously internalizing the whole cheatation and betrayal of it all. So maybe Ariana wasn't so easy to get a hold of or talk to. But I also don't understand why the cast is putting it on Ariana for her certain expectations they have for her. She's going through something life changing of her own. So then to see Sheena and some of the other girls cry about it, it's a little like, look, we get you're affected, but some of the things you want and expect from Ariana, she cannot give it to you at this time. So why don't you worry about the things in your life that you potentially can change and have, I don't know, some level of, I guess, like, you can change it yourself, right? But that's not what she was doing. She was crying here, she was crying there. And one thing I want to bring up about Sheena on the reunion, which was quite odd. I don't have the image here, but it was when Ariana started crying, and then of course she was like crying on the shoulder of Katie, and then Lala was in tears. Sheena walked right past Ariana, who was crying, and she walked over to Lala. That was interesting. And obviously, when Sheena was trying to speak, Lala kept cutting her off, which was so frustrating. And it just seems like Sheena is afraid of Lala, and I really hope that's not the case. I don't I don't like it when certain cast members are in fear of speaking their truth because they worry about their relationship with someone else, or I don't know, because I feel like the relationship between Sheena and Lala, it's a little bit deeper than the show. Obviously, they have kids around the same age. One of their homes are right beside each other. They share Brock, not like that, but, he's a good father figure to Lala's kid as well. The children, their 2 daughters, are so adorable. They play together. They're just, like, the cutest things in the whole wide world. So I understand that Sheena has developed this very close relationship with Lala, and I'm sure, for the reasons I've just mentioned, Sheena doesn't want to break that bond or have something get in the way. And at the end of the day, Lala and Sheena, with expanding families, yeah, they are in they have a different lifestyle compared to Katie and Ariana, who are currently child free. Like, look, guys, it is what it is. People can't be friends or the same level of friends all throughout their life. People hit certain milestones, they move on, either move on together or they move on separately. But I just hope she's not scared of Lala, if you guys are picking up on what I'm saying. At the end of the day, we don't need to see Sheena on the valley. I really hope Sheena isn't scared of Lala. I really hope she doesn't continue her pick me ways. Um, what's those, like, 10 steps or 12 steps, however many steps there are to becoming sober? And I believe, or is it grief, or for whatever program it is where you have those 10 steps, acknowledging the situation, I believe, is one of the steps. And in Sheena's journey to not being a pick me, I think self-realization is one of them. I think she's heard it enough that people call her a pick me, and hopefully she will remedy her ways and not seek constant validation. I hope she can, like, stand on her own 2 feet and move with conviction and say what she feels and what she means, opposed to just, like, going with the wind. And I even noticed it on her podcast recently. I believe Janet was on. I forget who the second person was. She said something, and then Janet and the other person swayed in the other direction. And then immediately right after, Sheena was like, yeah, like she kind of just like agreed with Janet and the other person. And I felt so bad for her in that moment because it's like, Sheena, what you say, it does matter. We want to hear from you. We want to hear from you, Sheena. We want to hear from you and your experiences with, I don't know, whoever it's about. So we're gonna see our girl Sheena. It's not gonna be on the Valley, thank goodness. I'm sure VPR will continue in some capacity with Sheena in it. Sheena is the show. It doesn't matter if we call her a pick me, if she's not a girl's girl at times. She is the show. With that, guys, we're going to continue our chats about VPR, the housewives, the craziness of our fave Bravo loves. If you guys like all that good stuff, definitely Give me a follow here on Bravo Hot Tea, and I will catch you guys next time.